So, Fabbiano. Occasionally, people would say, oh, Fabbiano, that's a nice Italian last name. I used to say thank you, but now I say I used to be Italian. So it was 2019, and my daughter Kristen came to me and said, Dad, I want to get Mom the 23andMe DNA test kit for Christmas. And would you like me to get you the same? I said, sure, Kristen, that'd be fun. I know I'm half Italian, and the rest I'm not too sure, so let's do it. So my wife and I take the test, and about a month later, the results come in, no shocker, my wife, 99% Italian. Me, not so much. I was sitting at work, my phone rang, ping, Ancestry reports in. I open up the phone. English, Irish, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, no Italian. It wasn't anywhere to be found. Almost as a joke, I took a screenshot. I sent a text message to my family. Oh, looks like Dad's not Italian. But it didn't feel like a joke. The next day, my wife and I take this covert mission to New York to go see family. I call a dinner party with my wife and my older cousins and my stepbrother, Chris. At the dinner party, I work into the conversation. Interesting, everyone. Come to find out, I'm not Italian. I just took a DNA test. Does anyone here at the table know anything about that? I put the phone down on the table. Everyone stops dead in their tracks like they saw a ghost. My stepbrother, Chris, turns to me and says, you don't know? Know what, Chris? You really don't know? I don't know what the heck you're talking about, but if you have something to tell me about my life right now, this is the time to say it. He says, okay, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure. It was 1979. I was 9 years old. He was 15. He was walking into the kitchen on a Friday night, and he overheard my father tell his mother that I was adopted at birth. He stopped dead in his tracks. He stepped out, and he hasn't told a soul since. Well, my two cousins across the table were not having any part of this conversation, so I didn't press it that night. The next day, I called up my cousin Belinda. I pressed her for information, and sure enough, adopted at birth. I showed up on a July 4th. I was born April 4th. July 4th was the party I got brought into. And So at that party, my two cousins get up, they run to the bathroom. They didn't want to have anything to do with it. So the next day, I start pressing them for conversation. They own up that I was adopted at birth. An hour later, after that conversation, I was in my father's living room having a conversation with him, literally having an out-of-body experience. My mind's floating around the room. I'm sitting across the room from a man that raised me, that loved me, that gave me my last name, and he's not my biological father. I decided not to tell him because his health is not well, and he obviously did not want me to know, so I didn't press it at that point, and he has since passed, and I never did tell him, and I'm okay with that. So the next day, I sign up for the DNA relatives. Sure enough, I got a first cousin on both sides, maternal and paternal. I sent up messages. I start getting answers back. 3 days later, the phone rings. I pick up the phone. The voice on the other side says, hi, Michael. My name's Allison. I'm your mom. I say, hi, Allison. I'm Michael. I'm your son. And just like that, I located my biological mother. She goes on to tell me that it was the summer of 1969, the summer of love. She was vacationing and waitressing in the Lake George region. Working at a diner, a young man rode into town on a black and yellow Harley Davidson, on leave from the Vietnam War, all handsome and tan, and the rest is history. I take that information, I bring it back to the paternal side. 2 weeks later, I locate my biological father, Jack. Come to find out, I'm also not an only child. I met Tony about a year later because 14 years after me, my biological mother gave another baby up for adoption, and his name is Tony. A lot of people ask me, how do I feel? What's it feel like? I think they're trying to put themselves in my shoes. And what I like to tell people is I think we all walk our own path in life, and for me, the story, while shocking, was also comforting at the same time, because when I was little, I always felt somewhat disconnected from my family. I felt a little bit alone. I could never really put my reason or why that feeling existed, and now I know why. So when I think about legacy, I think about a family that made a lot of important choices for me. Are my parents my parents? They always will be, of course they are. Do I have a whole new biological side to my life? I do, because without them I wouldn't exist. So when I think about legacy, I think about a legacy of choices all made in love. Thank you.